he's died yet?
About to right
All
now.
right. Welcome back to Token Narratives. I'm Graham Stone, joined by News and Research Gigabrain, David Sensel. Before we get into the gut check, David, let's react to the tragic death of Charlie Kirk. Prefacing this with, we here I view myself as an outsider to the whole whatever's going on in the Western Hemisphere. I've lived in Asia over 20 years. I don't know. Is society broken?
Well, I mean, I would also echo what you just said and further add that, yeah, I'm just a mouth breathing crypto guy over here. I don't want to wax or like give my opinion about politics particularly. It's not what we spend our time thinking about all day. I will say that yeah, it's really really sad as a father. I think that's the thing that hit me the hardest.
Absolutely.
Here's what I think we can talk about with some expertise, as can anybody who's a consumer of media, is just how it has been to be the kind of receptacle for all of this information for the past couple days. And for that, it's been quite, I think, a very 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 unpleasant experience. I don't know about you, but I curate for example, my X feed so that politics never really gets into it. And if people are political, I move them out, so I can just focus on one narrow lane. Um, and part of the reason is because politics is so enticing, right? It's like a shiny object, just pulls you in. And so I really really make sure that it's not on my following. But man, for the past couple days, it's been inescapable. Everybody, no matter who they are, has been posting or reposting content from this event, and I found myself just like sucked into these I don't know, little algorithmic doom scrolling,
Absolutely.
like anger producing things, and it just makes me think like how, I don't know, inescapable it is. It sucks me in. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to keep abreast of crypto, and then I just can't because
Yeah.
like a video comes up. And I'm like, are you serious? Someone said that, and boom,
Yeah.
off I am down that rabbit hole. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like I guess it's like it's like if you're struggling with weight control and you have cookies or bad food in your house, right? You're not going to be able to. Your willpower is not going to last long, over having it that close to you.
Yeah. You've got in the notes here, the algorithm rewards insane psychopathic posts.
Yeah, did
And
you see some of these
that's
posts?
absolutely true. Yep.
I I
Yeah.
I got so upset from some of these posts that people that I follow were reposting. Like, did you see what this person said? And after about the 30th one, I just realized like, oh, these posters are just trying to say the most outrageous, uh, mean spirited, terrible thing that they could think of, inhumane, completely divorced from what a human would say to another human face to face, because it's so outrageous and because it elicited all that kind of reaction. And that post, 280 characters, got like 10 million views, and then you look at the 10 million engagement, whatever. And then you look at the person's like followers, they have like 2,000 followers. You're like, oh well, yeah, it's just it's just someone who's really exploiting the fact that if they say something really crazy and insane, it's gonna make the other side upset, and then that it just makes this disgusting, polluted experience for social media. It's quite unpleasant, very 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 unpleasant. I don't know what the answer is for that, but I really don't like that aspect of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then just a couple more things on from this angle, just like the whole from in a similar vein. I feel like TikTok is just a visual version of what I just said, right? Like, I know a lot of people on my timeline said that they spent hours doom scrolling TikTok because you saw all these reaction takes of people basically trying to say the most outrageous, terrible stuff in video form to get that engagement. Um, and you know, the worst one that I saw is just that guy. Kirk had just been shot. Just people screaming and running away. Do you see this? And he's got
Yeah,
his
and there's
video.
one guy just like locked in with his camera. Yeah.
He's like
Oh,
his
selfie.
phone. Yeah, he's like
His reaction to it.
shots fired, Kirk down, shots fired live here. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. I mean, just like uh 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this would be in a very dark comedy, right? Like
Yeah.
something that's very incisive about where society is going. And here it is. This young man is doing that. It's just insane. I don't know, man. It's dark. It's dark, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not sure there's much else we can say, but rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the gut check for this week. So we had the CPI data come in, I think, as expected at 2.9% inflation. I mean, we all know the numbers are not the reality, but whatever. The reported number is as expected, 2.9%, which is up from last month's 2.7%. Month over month, prices rose 0.4% in the US compared to July's 0.2% increase. Slight uptick from the expectations of 0.3. Now, the markets seem to have reacted positively. I guess basically this print, the thing is that this print didn't dissuade the Federal Reserve from lowering rates, or isn't expected to dissuade the Federal Reserve from lowering rates, and that seems to be the thing that's driving markets the most right now. So the Fed will like very likely, I think a 90% chance on Polymarket right now. They're going to cut rates 25% in about a week or less than a week. And that
25
will be
basis
the
points.
first, sorry, yes, thank you, 25 basis points. That will be the first Fed cut rate in 30 years where the inflation rate is at or above 2.9%. So inflation relatively hot, yet they're cutting rates. The market's interpreting this as bullish risk on all risk on assets are up, like the NASDAQ, S&P. They're all at all-time highs right now.
Yep. But like you said, though, I think there are a couple things at play here. The first is, um, and I think Powell even kind of alluded to this at Jackson Hole, which is the data is unreliable, right? It's so. Are they now basing the data off of something that's a little more timely, like Trueflation? Um, the Fed, I mean, it's hard to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if behind closed doors they were trying to find uh, outside sources of more accurate, timely data to inform their opinion. So I mean, yeah. So CPI is whatever, seems to be in line with it, but um, I don't think that this kind of thing is material, and especially given that you have like pretty much everyone in finance agreeing that these numbers are so, even if they're accurate, they're so far, they're so, what's it called? They're so late, right?
Yeah, and of
They're
course
so
there's
lagging.
also
They're very lagging.
they're lagging. There's also this growing narrative that the Fed isn't really driving things. It's the like whatever the FOMC's uh, guidance on what the the marquee interest rate should be is not actually what's in the driver's seat here. It's more fiscal control, or the fiscal situation.
Yeah, I mean, but like if you look at Trueflation, their interest rate is at 2% right now, right? So, you know, again, I don't know how important the CPI is. Maybe from a just from a optics angle, I guess it could be important, but in terms of how determinative it is of cutting interest rates, I would say relatively small. In any case, yeah, that's likely going to just make sure that there's a cut. Most likely, I think the markets are predicting there'll be more cuts um, in this year and going into next year. So, um, on track uh, for cuts in that capacity. These cuts also, I mean, this leads us to the next point. These cuts could be kind of big surprise, ill-timed in terms of where we are in the market cycle. Um, and I have been kind of warming up to this this idea that we've actually been in a kind of flat to slightly negative part of the cycle for the past year or so, and now we might be actually ramping up uh, into some actual real growth, productivity, um, and
Yeah,
then
so let's talk
go
about
ahead.
this. Where are we in the cycle, right? The narrative in the past has been that it's 4 year cycles, and like it's going to peak at the end of 2025. But more and more people are saying that's model is broken, and there are a lot of reasons for it. Let's see if we can get into them here.
Well, so there's two things here. You're talking about the kind of the crypto cycle, which is
Yeah,
based off of Bitcoin, but put within the larger context of kind of like the business cycle, uh,
yeah,
which I would say crypto is still downstream of. Um, there have been a lot of talk about how we're this past year we're nearing the end of this business cycle. We need a slowdown. A recession or a slowdown is coming. It's on the horizon. Um, look at unemployment and different metrics for what's it called, industrial capacity, things like that. However, again, there's some information data that maybe this is all these are all like lagging indicators and stuff like that, and we're actually starting to get into an area of where things are ramping up again. And again, this is kind of a new thesis for me, but it does seem to line up with some of the other things that I've been hearing, like the author Arthur Hayes thesis, how he thinks the next year or two is going to play out. Excuse me. Do you want to put up the? Do you want to put up the what's it called? Julian
yeah.
Bittel.
Let's do it.
So got me. Okay. So basically, Julian believes that we're not at the peak of the cycle, and that the economic cycle is really going to be starting to get underway moving forward. Damn. Anyway, you can go through this post, but basically, he thinks that we have a lot of room to expand moving forward. And if you follow this idea that we're going to have economic expansion going forward, coupled with like Arthur Hayes's idea that the Trump administration is going to start printing money, basically. We can have monetary loosening. You have fiscal spending, which will really kind of throw gas on the fire of the economy. And finally, you get this. I have this other post about the number of crypto EFTs that are on the menu, right? So in
ETFs.
case you missed, sorry, ETF, sorry. In case you missed it, there are 90 crypto ETFs pending SEC approval. At this rate, we'll have one for every top 30 to 40 crypto token inside of 12 months. Even with delays, inflows may surprise some, but others are still bottom bouncing on charts. So again, all of these things coupled together, you could see some crazy, crazy times ahead for the next, I don't know, 12 to 18 months if all of these things line up.
Yeah, just zooming in on this point from Julian Biddle right here. He says, right now, nearly 90% of central banks are cutting rates. That is extraordinary. And on a forward looking basis, it is a massive tailwind for the business cycle. And looking at this chart here, by my playbook, the time to start talking late cycle is when the teal line rolls over, it begins to drop. So the teal line is the percentage of central banks cutting rates with a 9-month lead. With that, when that starts to drop over, roll over, and actually crosses over the white line, which is the global macro GMI composite US sentiment index, that's when we're talking late business cycle. And like if you look historically, right, that the last time that happened was like late 2021, right, and that did coincide with sort of the peak of that cycle. So right now they're completely separated, these two lines, not even close. So this is, I think, a big central part of his argument for why we're actually like quite far from the peak of this business cycle.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, he has several points like that. And again, the US really hasn't fully gotten into cutting or easing or anything like that. But again, um, Jackson Hole, I think, was a fairly big turning point in terms of setting the stage um, for the U.S. Fed to start cutting, and also even if cutting continues, to then ease and use other tools to juice the economy. So it'll be it'll be wild. And of course, next year Trump gets to put in his patsy for Fed chair, so he'll be doing whatever he wants. Um,
Yeah.
all of this to say, it does. I am kind of warming up to this idea of 2026 being a crazy, euphoric time, and crypto benefiting a lot from it. It seems to me more likely that we're going to get a 2021 style end to this cycle, whereas I know we've talked about before that it could kind of peter out. It just the setup seems to be that same kind of thing. I don't know about you.
Yeah. A year ago, I would have said, yeah, late 2025, that's when you sell. But sure enough, here we are, and I'm pushing that back. I'm not, if anything, I'm okay. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not holding any cash. I'm fully in risk assets right now, and yeah, I think I am expecting some euphoria here.
Yeah, and this is not to say that we won't have a pullback or we won't have a slump or a couple of months of poor performance, but I think again, I do think that we still haven't had a proper alt season or mania or anything like that. Um, and so I think that is ahead of us. Just a quick aside, a tangent to this, but did you see that post this week from that Bored Apes holder who
Yeah, I did. The guy
he,
who lost
yes,
$400,000 on a Bored
he
Ape.
could he capitulated. So he bought it for like 420,000, 440,000, or something like that,
Yeah.
in 2021. And this week he sold it for 39,000. And so he made a thread about this. I don't know why he needed to make a whole thread about it. It's a very Bored Ape kind of thing to do, to make a thread. I feel like one post, but anyway, this is a reminder to me. This is a
Yeah.
reminder to me, though, right? Like, it was like, I was like, oh my god, I forgot that things got so crazy in 2021, that people were buying Bored Apes for 400,000, or top blasting Bored Apes for $400,000. Um,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
what 2021 was, and we haven't had anything like that, anything remotely
Exactly.
so crazy.
Not at all. Like the whole meme coin thing from last year, people, like, you could argue that was just sort of out of boredom. There's a mini bubble out of crypto natives just being bored with nothing going on. That's what happened there.
Yeah,
There,
like
um,
like a preamble. It's like a preamble to true craziness. I mean, like, it wasn't.
yeah, yeah. And
So
then looking, I think this might be a good transition to talk about hyperliquid. But like the hyperliquid chart has, yeah, it's gone up a lot, but it's in the last 6 months from its low of like $9 or something to now over
yeah,
$55. But it has been a very, I mean, it took 6 months. It's
yeah. It's
been a
been
grind
kind of a
up.
grind. Yeah,
Yeah, a grind up. And this is a protocol that like they're printing so much money and putting it straight into the token. So there aren't that many people speculating on this yet. And so
yeah.
I think it, like, hype and other tokens like it could could eventually go parabolic, and that's nowhere near happening right now. Like, I could see
Yeah.
hype. It's already like kind of overvalued. I don't know. I mean, it's highly valued, but I could see it going. I could see it doing like a quick 3x. Like, I'm
I
not
mean,
banking on that, but
Vance. Yeah, Vance
yeah,
Spencer said that hype at like 100, from 50 to 100, it's kind of accurately valued in terms of, yeah, where it gets its revenue, how it can grow, um, and in order for it to get to like a 3 to 4 to $500 valuation, it would need to kind of absorb a new vertical. And he was talking basically about this stablecoin thing. So yeah, I mean, depending on who you talk to, 50 to 100 is about where maybe right now it should be for this kind of uh, premier DeFi exchange, and the revenue that
yeah,
comes from that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's gotten crazy, and I think you will probably see it eventually overshoot. Right? Hype will be like, oh, this is the new Nasdaq. This is the
yeah,
Nasdaq on, this kind of crazy idea, and then people, it's like at $1,000 or something. It's just stupid,
yeah,
absolutely beyond what you would even consider. But this leads to the USDH kind of takeover of crypto Twitter this past week. It was
yeah.
it
A lot
was
of
all
intrigue
over my
around this.
timeline.
Yeah,
It was, I don't know about you, Graham, but
yeah,
this was
absolutely. Yeah,
kind of the prevailing narrative for the entire week was
hmm,
USDH. Um,
yeah,
now, I, I'd like to just give a kind of a preamble to talking about this. Um, I think this whole thing that we're about to talk about, uh, has like three takeaways for me. Number one is really further cementing how important stablecoins are. I mean, we talk about stablecoins all the time, but it's almost like we can't talk about them enough. And for me personally, just um, seeing how much focus this USDH thing got from within crypto, but also from without, like Van Eck, was kind of
yeah,
courting. coining Hyperliquid, it really was a moment for me where I was like, good Lord, um, this stable coin thing is like no joke, so important. Even trying to get a stable coin for like a DeFi protocol is enough to have um, billion-dollar valuated companies and stuff like that kind of put their bring out some flowers and uh, try to get access. So again,
Absolutely.
stable coins, you can't overstate how important they are. Number two, um, it showed me how major players with from within but also from without are taking Hyperliquid, right? They really want a piece of Hyperliquid, and so I don't know if it means that I'm hoping they've done their due diligence and so they realize how valuable it is or how important it is. But it it makes me take Hyperliquid even more seriously than I was before, right? Just seeing kind of how these companies were falling over themselves. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because I could imagine you taking the other side of that, which is great. And then the third thing for me is just that there was an interesting kind of outcome to this that had nothing to do with Hyperliquid, but it revolves around the relationship between a dominant stablecoin within a blockchain ecosystem, and how that dynamic is kind of unfair right now. And we'll talk about this after we go through this whole thing. But I think that might be one of the more lasting effects of this USDH thing. Is it kind of shows major blockchains, especially like Solana, something like Solana, but everyone is going to go through this. Um, why haven't we enshrined a stable coin, and why aren't we getting the vast majority of the benefits of the stablecoin usage on our chain? And so this is kind of kickstarted that conversation.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting turn of events, I guess. So just to back up for a minute here, and for people who are maybe unfamiliar with what's happening here, right? So Hyperliquid, this perps dex exchange that like is sort of dominating perps volume in the crypto
In
space
DeFi.
right now in DeFi. So they have sort of an auction system where they auction off tickers and anyone can bid on these. And there's like a decentralized governance protocol where the holders of the hype token vote on who the winner is. And so they have this ticker USDH, so Hyperliquid's US dollar, and stablecoin issuers around the world have been bidding, putting forth proposals to be the one to like take up that USDH to be the dominant stablecoin, I guess, on Hyperliquid. And there've been proposals from all the big, not all the big, but several of the big stablecoins. Paxos was probably one of the more notable proposals, and
Oh, yeah.
several others, and they're all sort of sweetening the pot, trying to make their proposal. So they're bending over backwards to be the winner, right? And this vote is ongoing right now. It ends on Sunday, but it's looking right now that a stable coin called Native Markets, which I'd never heard of, is going to be the winner. And there's some controversy around this. People are saying that Native Markets there was kind of a fix in for them, like they knew about this, and also like yeah, despite the other proposals perhaps being better, people are voting for Native Markets because it's the most hype aligned. Does that sum things
Yeah.
up, David?
Yeah. I mean, I just to add a little detail all throughout. Yeah, like so, they auction off these tickers. This has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It seemed to not really have had kind of a material effect on uh, tickers that were highly auctioned. When Hyperliquid first this kind of like, I don't know, ticker auction meta started 6 months ago, you saw like tickers being bid up. And I
Yeah,
took part in a
it
couple of
was a
these.
year ago. I remember, like there were the tickers for dog and cat
And
were going
H,
for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I bought into some of that hype and got
yeah,
wrecked.
yeah, me too. So just to give context to the people who are listening to this, it doesn't really it doesn't necessarily have any effect on in terms of like, oh, this is gonna make a material difference on the stable coins prominence on Hyperliquid. But here's where it does make a difference is the Hyperliquid community and the apps that exist in like the Hyper EVM. The community as a whole can decide to get behind a certain stable coin, right? And they can decide to kind of elevate one stable coin above the others. This doesn't mean that any of these bidders can't go on to Hyperliquid and deploy their own stable coin, right? Because they can. And apparently, like I think Sky, which looks like unlikely to win, they made a post this morning saying, no matter what happens, we're going to deploy our stablecoin on Hyperliquid. So this is not going to prevent anyone from getting on Hyperliquid and having a stablecoin. And if you win the USDH, this doesn't mean that you're going to become the preferred dominant stablecoin, right? What it does probably do though is the USDH thing will kind of jumpstart your ability to become the dominant stablecoin within the community, right? And so again, it's this kind of lots of people are on the timeline who love DeFi and who love crypto and this crypto native stuff, really kind of celebrating this aspect of this process, which is it really is kind of a decentralized governance process, not just with the validators who are going to do the actual voting, but the community, which really will determine whether this matters at all, and will determine what the dominant stablecoin for the chain will be. And
Yeah.
so, and basically, what you're seeing though is a recognition by the community, by the chain, that hold on a second, we have a lot of power here to determine which stablecoin we use to transact. And wait a second, if you look at all the other big chains like Ethereum, EVMs, L1s, Solana, their dominant stablecoin takes all of the revenue earned from that stablecoin and doesn't give it back to us at all. They give zero. Right? They take all the profits. What's going on with that? And so you saw with this USDH process that they were like, you have to give back to the community bigly, and that's kind of I think what's happened. And again, you've seen this, I think, pretty cool process play out. As you said, you have people like Hasib Quresh who've come out and said, I've talked with almost all of these bidders, and we're convinced that this was actually just a political theater. Native Markets was chosen beforehand to be the winner, and we're just going through the motions to show that they were going to win. Then you had validators come out and say that Hasib is 100% wrong. Alex from Nansen, I think they have the largest validator. He was like, no, that's not right. We're not doing that. I don't know what he's talking about. And then you have Galaxy. I think Galaxy has a validator, and they're like, yep, that's wrong. We're not doing that either. So is it happening? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Even if you take the
one thing's for
case,
sure, it's fascinating, this whole like on-chain governance stuff, and kind of a revival here of it, actually, because it's died out a lot over the last couple of years here, like DAO governance, especially as regulation in the US has become perhaps less what's the word, less
Antagonistic.
strict,
Yeah.
antagonistic. People are like, okay, well, we don't need to do the decentralization theater anymore. We're just gonna actually make the decisions the way we wanted to. And but in Hype's case, like, this is a protocol where there was no VC investment. It's like run by 10 people. There's 10 employees. They launched the thing with like no outside capital, and they airdropped the supply to create this community. And all of those holders, the people they airdrop to, they actually have a lot of say here in what happens.
Yeah, it's also, I would add this too, because I've been a long time hater of DAOs. I've said this for all the way past from before last cycle, is that they were so stupid and they didn't work, and they don't.
Yeah.
And I think part of the beauty of Hyperliquid is that this governance process is like a hybrid process. I mean, this is kind of the whole maybe ethos of Hyperliquid itself, which is kind of a hybrid DeFi platform, right? It gets a lot of hate for being too centralized. Anyway, the validators, you could say, are like these centralized figures, are the ones who are voting, and so it's not a clean 100% decentralized thing like a DAO is. I think that's probably a good thing, because DAOs are broken, and so the reason that I'd imagine that you're having a revival of this is because you have this more like, it's a spectrum, but it's a little more centralized in terms of that, and so you can actually get some actual useful governance in. Anyway, so the big outcome from this is that this whole process is going to happen on all the other chains, and people on Solana have already started talking about this. They've already taken up this conversation. I'm like, hold on, the dominant stablecoin on Solana is, let's just say, USDC. We don't get it. Solana, the ecosystem, the dApps, the users, we don't get any benefit from transacting billions of dollars in USDC. They get all the benefit. They get billions in yield, right? And so I think very quickly you're going to see this same USDH style thing move to other chains. It'll look different on other chains. So, for example, on Solana, it might be like the 10 leading dApps and maybe some of the validator set for the staking. They'll come together and be like, you know what? Let's get Tether and USDC or whatever to give us a proposal for what is for what stablecoin we're going to promote or we're going to accept, or this kind of thing. And you'll I think you'll get a similar outcome, though. The actual kind of like the way that this is enshrined might be different, but I think the outcome will be different, and it's going to be so net positive, Graham, if you think about it, because all that revenue, which is now going to just stablecoin issuers, no. It's going to go to the protocol and the dApps and the users themselves, which is awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah. I think this might be a good way to transition to the stablecoin focused Corpo chain meta. And
we should
have what it means for Ethereum and other L1s. Go ahead, David.
I just in my mind, I was like, I wish we could have a jingle, like 1950s style jingle that we could play for the time of the time of the podcast where we hate on Ethereum. And it'd be like,
okay, yeah, no, I need to get one of those. I'm gonna I want to get one of those controllers here, and then I could just press a button and it'll play the jingle.
After this, After this, I want to get into whatever AI slop music thing that we have, and write a little jingle
Yeah.
for Graham hates ETH, because again, it's funny. It's a funny thing, but man, this is kind of connected to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about it. We have these stablecoin focused corpo chains. Tempo is the latest one. Tempo is from the Square Stripe.
Stripe. Yeah.
Yeah, Tempo is the one from Stripe. There's several others, and these corporate stablecoin chains, they are going to, and for good reason, and also like JP Morgan and all the big banks, they all want to like make their own chains, and it's in their best interest to do so. Why would they use uh some other like thing some other chain that they don't control? Why wouldn't they just have it on their own uh blockchain that like they have full visibility and like full control over? I mean, like that's it makes sense from their point of view. Doesn't necessarily make sense from the consumer's point of view, but the interests seem to, like the corporate interests are supersede that the consumer perhaps. And then there are questions about what that actually means for L1s like Ethereum. Is that bearish for them?
Yeah.
Like,
And also the
is
fact
that is
that they're
that
not making L2s.
they're not making L2s? Yeah, they're making their own chains. They may be EVM compatible, but they're not accruing any value to Ethereum.
Yeah. And the so there's a post that kind of, I think, sums up kind of the threat to this, and why this is a threat. Um, it was a thread, and I think the kind of most important, or the most, I don't know, the key post within this thread is here. I'm gonna read it, right. Here are some warning signs when greater than 50% of new stablecoins issuances go to corporate chains. When Tempo clears more transactions than ETH, Solana, um, a few months after launch. When top AI firms bless these corporate chains like Tempo and Arc, right? These are warning signs that things aren't going well, and that we need to be worried that the future is not really decentralized at all, and we're basically just getting a moderately improved, not even moderately, slightly improved version of traditional finance, right? Um, Now
Yeah,
here's what I
basically
wanted to get your reaction.
the same situation as traditional finance now, where it's all separate walled gardens. Just the only difference is that the underlying tech that it's built on is better. So okay,
Yeah,
um, there's going to be less transactions that are lost, and a lower cost per transaction, but it'll still be all fragmented.
yeah. And here's where I wanted to get your reaction, although I think I already know the answer. So Ryan Adams of Bankless, obviously, uh, ETH
Surprise,
maximalist.
surprise. He says it's good for ETH.
Well, no, so here's, even he couldn't really say that, like what you just said. So he said Tempo is a 50% win for ETH, Graham. So it's a 50% win for Ethereum and its ecosystem. And if I had to boil down why he said this, it would be, uh, on the positive side, it enforces EVM's network effects. It brings traditional financial assets on chain, thus closer to Ethereum. And it the fact that it is a corporate chain contrasts with Ethereum's pristine, credible neutrality, which apparently would, make Ethereum look better. So that's on the positive side. The negatives are, I think, self-evident, but I'll just highlight the most obvious. It's not using Ethereum. Ethereum gets no like direct benefit in terms of like fees or stuff, and it kind of further erodes the Ethereum L2, L3 uh, strategy of like, here's the main net, which is not very
Yeah.
used, not very useful, and then you build the useful things on top of that. It just erodes that further. It's like, oh, hang on, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make an L2. I'll just make an L1.
Yeah.
So is this, Graham? Is this? I'm kind of yeah, leading question. Is this is this a 50% win for Ethereum, Graham, or is Ryan Adams fraud?
Actually, I do think that the fact that these are mostly EVM chains, that is kind of bullish for Ethereum. But yeah, I mean the fact that these corporations are choosing to launch their own L1s rather than what was theorized for long in the Ethereum community, that they would just adopt Ethereum, whether it be the main net or some L2. They're not doing that, and so that negates that whole theory that people have been talking about for years, and so it's net extremely bearish, I think, for Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like the whole thing about Ethereum is that, like I just said, is well, we can have mainnet be slow and kind of clunky and not usable for almost everybody, but that's okay because we're gonna have the L2s and L3s, and then we can make those as performant as necessary, or as performant as you want, and then fees will accrue to Ethereum. Well, if no one's
Yeah.
building an L2 anymore, if no one's building this stuff, then good God, what does that mean for the main chain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so not to beat a dead horse, but I really loved this response. So Ethereum people were, of course, kind of upset. So Ryan Adams, I would say, was coping a little bit, saying, no, it's still really nice, right? This is still a win. But then you had a lot of Ethereum people who were kind of very upset about this and thought of it as a betrayal, which maybe they should. And you had you had responses like this, which just shows to me that a lot of these Ethereum folks, well intentioned but a little out of touch, they said, well, Tempo shouldn't be building its own L1. It should be building an L2 instead. And let me show you how easy it is. And now let me read you this word salad, Graham. So this is one of 5 components to make Tempo an L2 instead of an L1. It's like, oh, just we can make Tempo an L2. Here's how easy it is. This is one of them. Now, just listen to this. Use multiple L2s automatically under the hood in the Tempo SDK, especially fractal L3 scaling settled on Tempo L2 Validium in ultra scale L2s like Mega and Rise. Simple, Graham.
Yeah. What could be easier?
What does that even mean? What I mean, like, what is that?
I have no
What
idea what
the
any of this
hell?
means.
So to reproduce what they're doing with the L1, you need to simply use multiple L2s automatically under the hood, especially fractal L3 scaling settled on Tempo L2 Validium, and then ultra scale L2s like Mega and Right. Oh, God.
Yeah. Actually, this kind of maybe is tangent here, but there was an interesting interview with the guy from Galaxy. Now, Galaxy recently issued some stock, some on Solana, and he's in the interview. He's like, "Look, we considered Ethereum, we will consider Ethereum mainnet to issue the stock on, right? But we went with Solana just because it's like faster and cheaper. Okay, but we would never consider an Ethereum L2, an optimistic whatever, because they are all just they're like centrally controlled. They're controlled by like Coinbase's like the one that everyone uses, Base, is just totally controlled by Coinbase. They haven't decentralized it at all, and therefore it just they like legally they can't it can't work for issuing stocks, because if the L2 is like essentially controlled, then they have to have the right licenses, like just like Nasdaq does. But if it is actually decentralized, then they don't need to have those licenses, and that's why the Galaxy decided to issue their stock on Solana, because it is actually decentralized for their purposes and fast. So
Yeah.
I thought that was another bearish point for Ethereum, like the whole
Yeah.
L2 ecosystem.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, if it's issued on an L2, um, it loses a lot of that. Even if they do have all those licenses and all that stuff, it loses a lot of that. It loses almost all of the guarantees of the L1. As in, if the L2 shuts down, those issued tokens are worthless, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you issue it on the main chain, then it can exist no matter what on any L2 in the whole ecosystem, right? And this
Mm.
is why a lot of projects within Ethereum I've heard are thinking about this kind of thing, which is maybe it's better to issue the thing on Ethereum mainnet, because you don't get into any kind of weird dependencies that are of that particular L2, right? But then
Yeah.
you have to release it on main chain, which is just so damn expensive and maybe even unworkable, right?
Yeah,
Depending on what
exactly.
the token does.
All right. So does that wrap up our Ethereum bashing segment for the week?
we need an outro to ditch your Ethereum, go buy something else. How about Sol or
Okay.
Hype or
So there's another topic that was all over the timeline this week, and this is the collector crypt. And I think this is quite interesting. So let's talk about this for a minute. So actually, let me bring up the screen here to show what it looks like. This is in the RWA theme. So, all right, collector crypt. So first of all, the token itself for this project has exploded from it's like 10x here in the last couple of weeks. Basically, what this project is you can take Pokemon. It's a Pokemon marketplace. Okay, you take a Pokemon card marketplace trading card. You take a rare Pokemon. You actually send it to these guys in the mail. They verify it and they hold it in their vault, and then they issue an NFT to you, which you can trade on their marketplace, and they take a cut. That's the business model. They also have this thing where you can, they have like a gotcha machine, a digital gotcha machine. So you can pay between 50 and I think $250 to buy one of these, and you randomly get, either one worth more or less than what you paid. Right.
oh, that's that lottery. Love the lottery, Sol.
Yeah, and so this has kind of taken off. Let me see if I can pull up some stats here. Yeah, so total volume hit 124 million in August per Masari data. And yeah, the token, as I said, basically pumped 10x. They take 2% royalties plus the Magic Eden fee. So there's Magic Eden is involved here in the back end. And then it's unclear how uh the cards token, like how the revenue that they're generating accrues back to the cards token, but don't let that bother you. Just ape in now, and
Yeah,
they'll figure it out later.
it's going up, bro.
It presumably, they could, like other projects before, the most successful projects these days, they could, of course, have an automated buyback system where revenue goes into buying back the token, which has done very well for hype and pump. So yeah, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, David, but pretty interesting little out of nowhere RWA use case, Pokemon trading cards.
I have a lot of thoughts on this actually. Number one, you're late to this meta. I wrote about this 2 weeks ago.
Did you buy it?
No. And that goes to my number 2 point, which is I I'm a super nerd. I've been playing CCGs is what they're called, Graham. This is what people in the know call them, collectible card games. I've been playing CCGs
Okay.
since
And
middle school,
yeah,
bro.
and what is the other one? Multi.
Dude, just stop.
I don't know.
You're talking about it, no MMORPGs. That's a completely different thing. So
There you go.
CCGs, I played those too.
I've
But
never
anyway,
had a trading card in my life. All right, I'm
dude,
not a
yeah,
nerd.
you're a loser. You're such a loser. CCGs, man. They Pokemon is trash. I'm gonna go. Here's a hot take. Here's a hot take for crypto Twitter. Pokemon is trash. It's trash tier CCGs. It's disgusting. I hate them all. Makes me want to vomit every time I see a card or play the
No
game.
argument there.
So low level. Some people in my office play it, and every time I play it, I'm just reminded how basic and mouth breathing it is. Anyway, Magic the Gathering. That's the real
That's
game.
what I was going to bring up. Is the Pokemon card game like comparable to Magic the Gathering? Because I have played that a
Oh
few times
no!
back in.
Good God, no!
Not even
Good no!
comparable. Okay.
No. Here's the comparison. Pokemon is like I don't even know. Pokemon, in terms of actually gameplay and stuff, Pokemon is like the 400-meter sprint, right? You just run around in a circle. And
Okay.
Magic the Gathering is like anything that we would really call a sport, like baseball or basketball, or something with an actual strategy that requires this is like multi-dimensional and stuff like that.
All right. I did a 400 meter a couple of years ago, and there is strategy involved there. So
It is. I'm not. Don't get me wrong, but would you even compare the two though, Graham, in terms of strategic depth? 400-meter
no, yeah,
strategy
it's pretty
versus
basic. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying it's devoid of strategy, but I mean, come on. Pokemon is you're running in a straight line as fast as you can with minimal minimal. Anyway,
Yeah.
I really like Magic the Gathering. I am super passionate about it. You might not know this, Graham, but I have followed Magic the Gathering market dynamics uh, for more than 6 years, about 8 years, I think. And I followed it very closely. And it's been fascinating to me because Magic the Gathering has an incredibly deep um, market dynamic, very similar to crypto. This is why I found it so interesting. And so my hope is that this Pokemon trash heap is basically like a stepping stone. The mixed metaphors there is basically like a stepping stone to Magic, because that actually has like true market depth, and people who pe- people who buy and trade Magic for money, um, that's a lot more money, a lot more liquidity, and a lot more market sophistication, I think.
Okay. Well, that's how you could speculate on this cards token, because they can expand beyond this trash tier Pokemon into the big boy games of Magic. Now, I think the real issue, like, where is the magic marketplace? Is that on eBay or something?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
It's on
so
eBay.
that's
It's on a
that's
couple other like websites.
okay. So that's the sort of the innovation here, I guess you could say, is that this crypto NFT based marketplace, the fees are lower. Okay, and it it's an RWA. The way they'd solve the RWA issue here, like, is that you have to like mail in the cards to them, and they hold them, they verify them, and they hold them in a vault, and then the digital versions trade seamlessly around the internet with minimal fees. And if you want to like take possession of the card, you send them, you send them the NFT, and then they send you the card, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of yeah, it's a pretty unique solution, actually. Kind of that's how it has to work, I feel, and
Yeah.
it could disrupt like the eBay version of this, just because the fees are lower and you can trade faster. It does
So,
rely on a central authority, of course,
yeah, I
to
mean that
hold them all.
that's the problem.
Yeah,
So I agree with you 100%. I've actually been thinking about this for years.
yeah,
That because the other big problem, Graham, that this solves is the market for this kind of cardboard. Is what they call it. Also, the market for cardboard is incredibly slow because you have to take physical possession. So, for example, people, at least with Magic, Pokemon a little bit, but not as much. They buy pallets. They buy pallets of boxes of Magic, right? So they no, seriously,
what?
for
Like an
yeah for
industrial, they get a forklift.
yep for hundreds of thousands
Jesus.
of dollars, and they make
Okay.
millions. They make millions off of it. Like this
Okay.
is, I mean,
Wow.
no joke.
Okay.
We're talking about people who spend tens of millions of dollars on this kind of stuff,
Wow.
and so
All right.
yeah. So again, market liquidity is high. So for example, um, uh, a lot of people, even small players like myself or this, that, and the other, you can buy a box, like a box of Magic, which has, I don't know, 16 to 30, um, 16 to 30 individual boxes on wrapped boxes, and then you can say, oh, I think this. I know Magic. I've played Magic for a long time. I think this is gonna appreciate in price over the next year. So I buy a box. Box might be like two two to $10,000, and then you just hold it. And then in a couple of years, you sell the box for whatever 2x, 3x, or 5x, whatever it is, or at a loss. This kind of thing. But you have to take physical possession of it, right? And that adds so much friction, cost, time. Whereas this RWA thing, it really streamlines that, where you can then get a tokenized version of it, right?
Yeah.
And that really cuts down on the biggest problem, which is taking physical delivery of the
Yeah.
commodity.
And then
The only
there are, of
problem,
course, yeah, go ahead.
well, the only problem is that trusted third party with Magic. I think Pokemon is way less valuable, but like you can have cards that are worth, I don't know, $100,000, I guess, for like a mint condition PSA 10 Black Lotus. I don't know what the going rate is. Are you really going to trust, like, if you're going to buy like a pallet of Magic, let's say they tokenize a pallet, that's
Yeah.
really expensive, like
They
a
need
hundred
to,
thousand
yeah,
dollars.
definitely. It needs to be extremely trusted, and they probably need to be utilizing those freehold zones. You know what I'm talking about? In like
Airports.
where, yeah, where like import restrictions or
Yeah.
sorry, import tariffs are not applied. Like it was in one of those movies, Tenet.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. But
So
I,
anyway, and then on top of that, like the ease of being able to trade them, there's also, yeah, then you unlock additional features of the mark, like you can borrow against your holdings, right? All the derivatives can be unlocked, which makes things interesting as well.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
Um, I think it's great. I love this kind of stuff, but again, the Pokemon aspect of it is completely uninteresting to me. I find it.
Okay. Yeah, agreed. Let's end on a light note, David. You've
Let's
got
do
this
it.
thing in the dock here. What is this? I'm going to bring
All
this up.
right, bring it up and then read it, please.
Okay.
I'm gonna get so much hate for this Pokemon talk. I don't know if we should clip this because I think I'm just gonna get savaged.
Okay, so here's the post that went around the world. 12.1 million views for a seemingly innocuous post, which is order your groceries, saves an extra 1 to 2 hours a week. Compounded, that's 50 to 100 hours a year. A whole week worth of work you gain. I promise that time is more important than the $10 delivery fee. And this sort of divided the internet. Do you
It struck a
fall on
nerve.
either side of this? Yeah. Do you fall on either side of this debate? I'm inclined to. I'm sympathetic to the view of I kind of enjoy going to the supermarket every now. You need, like, people are saying, okay, you don't want to be staring at a screen choosing your groceries, like that's draining, depending on what type of work you do, I guess.
Yeah,
Me,
I
I'm
mean,
sitting at my desk all day. I kind of enjoy going to the grocery store. We live in a small city here. I see people that I know every time I go there. It's Yeah, I don't know. You can choose
yeah,
the food you want. This you can select. I want this head of. I would never get lettuce, but whatever. This uh, cut of steak rather than that
Graham,
one.
lettuce hater. I didn't know that. Learn new information every day. That's hilarious. I love the disdain with which you said that lettuce. Oh, I would never get that. Never get that.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
empty calories.
I think this struck a nerve because, at least if I look within myself, it really kind of cleaves. It depends in both ways, right? Like, so I there is something just really annoying about having to go to the grocery shopping, especially in like a country like America where you have to drive there, and it might not be so close. But where I live now, I walk to the grocery store, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
Um, and like being in traffic, doing that, and going to a crowded parking lot and having to deal with what America is right now, you'd be like, you know what, f that. I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like fun. But then on the other hand, I naturally, I think, fall to what you're saying. Here, can I read this one thing? I think this was like the best reply to this, um, and this is Kurt Vonnegut. And I think it perfectly encapsulates the one side of it. So here we go. Quote, "Oh," she says, "well, you're not a poor man. Why don't you go online and buy 100 envelopes and put them in the closet?" And so I pretend not to hear her and go out to get an envelope because I'm going to have a hell of a good time in the process of buying one envelope. I meet a lot of people. I see some great looking babies, and a fire engine goes by, and I give them a thumbs up, and I'll ask a woman what kind of dog that is, and I don't know. The moral of the story is we're here on Earth to fart around, and of course, the computers will do us out of that. And what the computer people don't realize, or they don't care, is we are dancing animals. We love to move around, and it's like we're not supposed to dance at all anymore.
it's beautiful.
So
Um,
that's where I kind of fall on that.
yeah,
But I feel the pull. You feel the pull
yeah,
of what's it called? Better productivity, don't you?
yeah, absolutely. Um, I don't know. Maybe the best solution is, like your groceries. The AI just knows what you need and it delivers your groceries. But therefore, you're freed to not sit at your desk and do more work, but instead go for a walk and stroll around randomly without having to go shopping for groceries. That would be the ideal scenario, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But also, I mean, maybe the AI gets your staples, but you still like my current situation, the grocery store is so nearby. Just walk over, like, maybe I'm gonna get something.
Yeah, see
Walk
something
over,
new.
get an
Exactly.
apple, get a
Yeah.
peach. Oh, they have mangoes today. Boom, get a mango.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all right. Okay, that is a fascinating debate. Nice way to end the pod. All right, David, have a great weekend. Thanks for everyone for joining. See you next week on Token Narratives.